Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box below this video once it has rendered. Are you going to get on or get off? Come on, make your mind up. If you would like to join the panel, be sure to mute the web page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules in the Hangout. Number one, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as this increases the live audience, of course, and that in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Arwin and Sleeping Warrior. How are you both doing, gentlemen?
Good afternoon.
All is good. All is good.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
Eleanor has a terribly cute Easter hat.
Yes, she does.
I was having an off conversation with the Rumpus earlier on today. Rumpus not only doubles down on the horizon point, but he thinks that I'm crazy for saying that the horizon is something other than the horizon that is presented on screen. So I've challenged him to come in. I'm hoping that he does come in. And if he does come in, I'll look forward to let's rehashing it. I think he's finally understood the point of the debate the other day. The horizon is an apparent horizon. I think he's now got that. I think he gets it. But that means that he didn't get it when he was arguing for it at the time when we had the Hangout. So basically what he's saying is he wants round two. So if anybody's out there that knows Rumpus, send him a message, let him come in. Let's carry it on from where we left off, but we'll deal with the horizon point specifically. I've got a shout out to make if it's okay. Let me see. Are you familiar, Nathan? Are you familiar with a guy called? Oh, I'm not sure how to pronounce this name, but it looks like it says. Hang on, it's coming to me. Where is it? Einar Kusk? No. He's finishing. He's trying to make a movie called Finding the Curve, and I've been asked to give him a shout out, but I don't know how to pronounce his name. But he's making a new channel. But if anybody's heard of Einar Kusk, apparently he's re-uploaded his channel and he's started again. And he's asking for subs, but I don't.
Yes, I do know who he is. Yes, he did a very good series called Finding the Curve. Correct. Yes, I know exactly who he is now. So he's re-uploaded his channel. Yes, he took it all down. Okay, that makes sense. Einar Kusk.
If you can get him on screen, Nathan. I don't know how you spell it. I can spell it, I think, but
I think you pronounce it correctly.
Einar Kusk, EINARKUUSK. So basically, he's asking for subs so that it can be spread because I think he's going to represent it in the next couple of days or so. And if that's the case, he just wants an audience to send it to. So shout out to Einar Kusk. I've subbed, and everybody else should do too, just because it's going to be interesting. There was one other one as well. Isa Mahalski said to me, can you give a shout out for the Equinox claim by the Ballers? And I said, in what respect? He said, well, they're all claiming victory on the shape of the Earth by the Equinox. I said, really? I said, I don't know why they're doing this. I said, who's doing this? And there's a few of them that's pushing it. So rather than shout out and present everything on our side for the Equinox, I'd like somebody on the Ball side that knows something about the Equinox claim that can demonstrate it for us to come on and present yourself, and let's discuss the Equinox. I'd like to see the claim. I have been through this a couple of times before with Ballers, preferably somebody with experience on Stellarium or the other one, whatever the other one is, because I'd like to see the demonstration for the Equinox claim. So Geostreamer, perhaps, Cara Diane, any Sly Sparkane, any of you guys, do you want to bring it? Let's do the Equinox claim. So that's that one. And there is one more shout out. Isa Mahalski has asked me to ask you, Nathan. You know when Rumpus starts stuttering? He wants to know. He wants to know, does it turn you on when he starts stuttering? And I said it probably does turn him on.
No,
but I'll ask it for you anyway.
No, it just shows me that he's lying.
Yeah. But I think he's noticed a definite and distinctive change in tone when he starts stuttering, because you seem to get very giddy and excited. And I think he's asking, does it arouse you in some way? And I said it probably does. But we all enjoy it when he starts stuttering. So
Calling out liars is very exciting.
Yeah. So shout out to Ether as well.
I'm not a sadist, I just get annoyed, but whether or not these people are masochists and enjoy me shouting at them because I'm annoyed with them, that's a different matter, but certainly no, there's nothing sexual there for me, just annoyance when people lie about the shape of the Earth. And
yeah, and I don't think he meant it literally, it was tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, I know.
So if there's any ballers out there that have got any claims about the equinox, bring it. Let's have a talk about the equinox.
So what do you know, Owen?
Sorry?
What do you know?
About the equinox?
No, in general.
In general, yeah.
Well, no, the Earth is definitely not a ball. I know it seems to be flat. I know that the heavenly bodies that we see out there, including the sun and the moon, appear not to be physical in nature, and thus we cannot derive any scientific conclusion as to the shape of the Earth based on the heavenly bodies.
Hear that, people drawing conclusions with the equinox? They're intangible.
Yeah.
Hello, intangible objects.
Yeah. Well, they love to bring back the heavens. They constantly have to bring back the heavens to prove their globe, because when it comes to actually down to earth measurements and observations, it doesn't seem to be very flat now, does it? I mean, sorry, seem to be a globe. Sorry, misspoke there. Now, there's no cumulative curve into the distance. That's the biggest part. Whether you consider the slant to be curved or not, it does not accumulate into the distance.
So, has the link gone out publicly, Nath?
Yeah, it went out at the start of the show. But
oh.
I've got to back you up there, Arwin. I completely agree with you. It's the cumulative drop that's the problem. I mean, this is something that we touched on and have kind of moved past it, and I'm hoping we'll go back to it, because Ranty did provide some exceptionally good proof of this. You know, he's got mountains in the background in Wales, he's got these wind turbines in the near foreground, and ultimately speaking, there's no cumulative drop, exactly as Arwin just stated. And that's the problem. They can only account for stuff at the horizon, which is, by us, evidenced as refraction. However, beyond that, all you've got is perspective, and you can scale it and show it. But they can't show any cumulative drop, which is what they're claiming is happening, and it isn't.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. I hate it when I misspeak like that. Stupid.
Yeah, misspeaking's always at the most inappropriate moment as well.
Yep, it always is. But anyway, I corrected it. So.
What did you say?
Well, I said it doesn't appear to be flat when I meant globe. So that was like a pretty fundamental mistake there.
Well,
I do it all the time. I always, the misspeak I always make is, you know, the 8 inches per mile squared. I always call it 6 inches per mile squared, even though I know it's 8. I don't know why. I've just got this 6 inches stuck in my head and I can't get out of it. So if ever I misspeak with 8 inches per mile squared and say 6, don't kill me about it.
Well, I think that the 6 inches per mile squared are probably closer to reality than the 8, since
it's closer to 0. So yeah, I'd agree.
Exponential
with that
drop anyway.
I like the fact that Rumpus has doubled down on his horizon point, even though he's failed to argue it successfully in the previous hangout. Doubling down on it now suggests that he understands the point finally. So I'm looking forward to a rehash with Rumpus, so at least he understands that the apparent horizon is not the actual horizon. He seems to have got it.
Well, I seem to remember him saying about 50 times, trying to talk over me, that's not the horizon, that's not the horizon, that's not the horizon. Correct?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that was our point. So clearly he didn't get it, otherwise he wouldn't be backing up our point over and over again.
And the other thing, of course, he denied that he conceded the point in the last hangout. And I said, like, there's the timestamp of the moment when he actually did concede the point, and we never got a chance to play it. So it would be really cool if we could just play Rumpus conceding the point, because he denied that he conceded the point in the last hangout, and it really does need to have that rammed down his throat. He did concede the point.
Bring it up and I'll play it.
Yeah, it's
Hello. No, it's not going to be beyond the imaginary curve. Bye bye. Or is it?
Yeah, I don't think it would have been.
No.
It could have been because he has been on recently, but
he comes with his camera on. He's smarter than that.
If the real Dell comes on, we'll know.
I watched Dell last night. I've rediscovered Dell. Because I mean, what happened with me and Dell, and it wasn't even Dell. It was one of his admin guys. So I'm not sure what his name is. He was asking for people to jump on the show. Hat,
right?
Pardon?
Guy with a bell head on his logo. Teen foil hat.
Yeah. He was asking for people to join the show. So I said, send us the link. There's my email address. And for whatever reason, he took issue with it and said he's not. And I said, have you sent the link? I've not seen it. He was having problems at the time sending emails or the emails being received, whichever it was. So there was an issue with whether he sent, not so much whether he sent it, it was whether I'd received it or not. So I was trying to chase it saying I've not received it because I knew that they were having problems. But he interpreted my chasing it as, what was the word he used? Demanding, but it wasn't that word. He said it was. He said I was being something else, and I was like, "Really? You're asking for people to join the show? You know that I'm not a troll, but you're being funny with me." So I never went back after that. I just thought, forget that. I don't need that kind of perception from him. However, Dell then came in, and I kind of like refound him again. It's like, you know, when you get like a chocolate bar from your youth and you've not had one for years. Well, he went live last night, and I went in listening to him. And he was addressing that kid, you know, the sci-fly guy or whatever his name is, sits in the corner of his room with a little globe. And he was addressing his video against Dell. And basically, the kid's got no evidence to support any of his assertions. He's come into it with all the rhetoric, but producing no evidence whatsoever. He'd get killed if he came in here. So if that kid out there, the sci-fly guy, whatever his name is, if you want to come in here sometime and tell us all about the nonsense that you speak, I'd love to hear the nonsense. Love to hear what you say when we ask you for evidence to prove your assertions, though, little worm. I'm going to drop onto mute a sec.
No worries. Arwen's battling away in the chat, I think. Let's have a look. You can just say it to them on the show if you want, Arwen.
Nah, it's almost giving attention to these trolls is almost too good for them.
But it depends what you class as a troll. They class us as trolls.
I'll just mention that Nick is now getting all sad that I don't say hello to him, like he could actually get sad. Like he's not just a drone that
Boomerang Cardiff.
it lives for manipulation.
Say hello.
Oh, good morning.
Well, he boomeranged out of there.
No, just say hello. If you're going to join the chat, just say hello immediately. It's easy. Shame. Another one. Troll attack. Attacked by trolls. Fun, fun, fun. You tell him, Eleanor.
I think Eleanor wants to join the debate.
She's saying flat, flat, flat.
Nathan, will you address a critical point from a baller? The other day when I dropped for the last 20 minutes or so, somebody that I did tell you his name, but I don't want to mention his name now because I don't want it to make it sound personal against him. But his criticism was, why don't you just give the link out privately to people so that you don't get the idiots going in that are trying to disrupt and destroy it? And I said, well, Nathan wants it not to be an echo chamber. He doesn't want the criticism by the likes of Tim that we all have our echo chamber.
Sorry, so hold on. Hi, Alan. Could
you just respond to that point and let people know the reason why the link's
public?
Hello,
Alan. Can you say hello?
Yeah. No, that's a real Alan.
Oh, I booted him.
Oh, come on. Don't...
No, it's Jeff. He doesn't add anything. He's here to disrupt.
No, come on. That's not fair.
I booted him anyway.
None of the trolls add anything.
No,
he didn't say anything. So I booted him
he said he had a real
question. There's just two trolls that have just tried to join.
If he wants to rejoin, he can. You know, I just booted him because he didn't say hello.
But does he actually have another account then?
It might actually have been me that booted that one. It might not have been you. It could have been us both at the same time. I don't know. But anyway, could you address those that are watching? The reason why the link is public is because
I want it to be public. Simple. I don't want any walls between somebody joining. So, for instance, Discord, you have to be part of Discord. Well, by definition, if you're watching this, yes, there's a small chance that you're watching it and you don't have a YouTube account. But I would say on the most part, if you're watching this show, you've got a YouTube account and you can join. You just have to click the link. Oh, God. Trollby. Is that Alan? Is that you?
Hello. Good morning.
Hello?
Hello.
Doesn't sound like Alan B, or maybe his voice changer isn't turned on.
Anyway, so yeah, you know, anybody can join, and I want it to stay that way. Anybody who's got a YouTube account can just immediately join the show. And yeah, sometimes people actually enjoy watching us bat off the trolls that are trying to shut us down. Oh, you. Hey. Hello, Alan. Hello. Hello. Good to have you.
Hey, hello, Alan.
So, Nathan, serious question.
All right.
The Earth is now flat. What happens?
Absolutely nothing.
Well, it all depends on...
Yeah, nothing.
It all
happens.
depends on pretty much what government's gonna do with it, because there's the people's awakening to flat Earth to some
Truth
extent,
Seeker, can you hear
and
us?
some people
Hold
not
on,
wanting, and there's
Hold on,
the
Arwin.
government and
Arwin. Hey, Truth Seeker, can you hear us?
Yep, morning.
Good to have you.
Morning. So, as I was saying,
Arwin,
there is.
Just be attentive when people join. You need to shush so that we can get them to speak.
Sorry, I didn't know. I'm switching
all right.
between the Hangout
It's cool.
on YouTube and the Google thing, so I can't always see when somebody's
Fair enough.
joining.
Sorry,
Pop
didn't mean to
the chat
shout
out
at
and
you.
you can have both
I just
of
don't
them.
want to. I just don't want to boot people. I've already booted Alan twice. Sorry.
Right.
But yeah,
He's still there, right?
Yeah.
honestly, yeah. I just didn't know because there's a good chance now that people will start replicating people who I think I know, like Alan, like Truth Seeker, because there's a better chance that I'll just say, "Oh, hi, I know who you are," you know. So
There's only one Alan.
there's not. That's the problem.
I haven't seen any of my sock puppets yet, or at least for a long time. Sometime back, I did. But anyway, Alan, to continue the answer on your question, there's the people's awakening to flat Earth, and of course, a large amount of people that just don't care or don't want to wake up.
Hang on a minute. What was the
Abolished.
question?
And there's the government and the schools and their policy, and there may be some kind of shift there. Although,
what's the question?
What happens? The Earth is flat. So what he's saying is, he's kind of phrased it as though the Earth is going to physically change shape, and that's not what's going to happen, because it always was flat. It always will be flat, and nothing physically changes when you realise that fact. So from that perspective, nothing changes. But if the masses realise that they've been lied to, that's a different story.
And one of the first things that will happen is NASA will get disbanded, and nobody will be getting taxed to pay for NASA's $52 million a day budget. That money can go elsewhere, or not be taken off the people in the first place.
Why are you so worried about that? It's not your money.
Well, they produce all the rhetoric and
tax
nonsense.
money.
It's my money.
Yeah, they produce all the rhetoric and nonsense that people like me and Nathan believed up until we were about 30. So it's kind of an issue.
Yeah. On the other hand, NASA may actually then transform into another type of agency that provides another service for another huge amount of money.
They may become NASA.
This also opens the door to start talking about free energy, because when you start thinking that you live in a particle-based, spherical universe, space, and space, stuff like free energy is hard to find. But now that we realize we live in a realm, we start to see what people like Nikola Tesla were finding out.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree. It opens up the at least maybe not the free energy debate just yet, but it will open up the what if we're not a ball? What else are we? And then that obviously means that there is no core, there is no electromagnetic what's it called? What's the nickel and iron core?
Molten core.
Yeah, there's none of that.
Molten magnetic core, which is an oxymoron.
And then people will be more interested in the colder deep super borehole, because it's like, well, what is below us then?
See, but this ties right into free energy, because the Earth acts as a magnet, and once we start realizing it's not a liquid core.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with you, but little steps. I think the first step is to accept that there's no core, not the way we're told anyway.
Well, I already think pretty much that free energy is already being applied.
Yeah, look
a
at jet
lot
turbines.
in
They're
a
running on
variety of ways.
compressed air.
They just don't want the public to get their hands on it, and there may be good reasons for this.
Yeah, can I just respond about that
They
jet plane running on?
themselves.
Can I respond to the jet plane running on fresh air thing? My view on that, Nathan, if you'd share, that'd be great. I want to show you guys and those in the chat. RAF plane crash angle C. Angle C. How do you spell angle C? ANGELSEA. Now, we had one of the RAF planes crash recently, and when the plane crashed, you can see it was in RAF Valley, which is in Holyhead, North Wales. And when it crashed, you could see that I'm not sure that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. A man died in the RAF Valley plane crash, but all this black smoke is the fuel burning. This is the plane after it's been set on fire. Oops.
Yeah, the issue isn't if they have fuel on board. The issue is they don't actually have the physical space to hold all the 9,000 liters these little jets claim.
Can't work out.
I'm not sure about that whole argument. I mean, I'm a petrol head by default. I mean, I'm into cars. I'm into anything that's got like engines and drives and stuff like that.
The best airplanes to look at is the A380 or the small fighter jets, because some of those small fighter jets, they only have a wing that's like inches thick, and they're claiming to hold 9,000 liters in each wing. I mean, it's a joke.
But if this was true, though, wouldn't it be noticed by the people that refuel them?
No.
Not if they're not if they're compartmental. It's just like you're using the same arguments that people use about the moon landings.
Yeah, and
how
how seriously? How would you know? How would you know? There's just this hose tied to it, and then it's like, oh, it goes on. A meter says, oh, it's this much. How would you know?
Smell it.
Yeah,
you can smell it.
You think he's sticking his fingers in and licking the jet fuel? No,
No, but
it's likely compressed air.
Could be that, or it could be just a very small amount of fuel. You wouldn't know as an operator if you were basically left out of the loop.
It would definitely be a small amount of fuel.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, the issue is there's
definitely
literally no room on
needed.
these fighter jets to hold 10,000 liters of fuel and bombs. And they're claiming that there's 10,000 liters on there, and these wings are incredibly thin. There's free energy staring us right in the face.
Maybe.
I mean, I just don't think you can get an engine to run without fuel.
No, but the thing is with the whole vacuum propulsion is they need a startup.
Arwin, hold on. Hey, Matrix, good to have you. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Good to have you. You were good the other day. Glad
you guys ever heard of a Tesla turbine?
Yeah.
Tesla turbine,
I think that's what's going on with the jets, probably. They're probably using Tesla turbines.
You're right, but the problem is you've got to get it to spin up to its operating speed to maintain it. I don't think you would be able to do that without some kind of accelerant.
Okay, but
you need a little fuel to get it started. But
the hoax is that they're not using as much as they're saying. Not that they're not using fuel at all. They use the fuel to get the turbine moving. After that, is unnecessary.
Yeah, and the Nikon P900 footage is showing the planes are actually a lot lower and slower than they're claiming.
I don't know.
I thought the issue was that they didn't need fuel at all. I didn't know they're exaggerating how much they claim that they use.
That's the scam. That's the scam, that they're exaggerating how much is it.
Yeah.
But other than
there's
cheaper
likely
airfare,
still some
I mean,
fuel on board.
Who cares? I mean, if they've got a more efficient engine and they're just basically escalating the prices, other than what might make headline news for normies, who cares?
Who cares?
Who cares?
Hey, Nathan,
you have
where
to
does
pay
the majority of your
$500
bills
and
go
$400
each
for a
month?
passport.
Nathan, who cares? Where does the majority of your money go each month to energy companies? Who the fuck cares if they're using Tesla turbines? Come on, dude.
But hold on.
Are you really that thick?
It's a far cry from assuming that you can get a jet engine to get up in the air and use tiny amounts of fuel because of Tesla turbines, therefore reducing the amount of fuel used when air is being forced over a Tesla turbine.
What has this debate shown? It's shown that the laws of physics are bunk and they're used to keep us as debt slaves to an energy grid.
Facts.
Okay, so now that we know the laws of physics are bunk, we can create perpetual energy machines in Tesla turbines.
Yeah, okay, Truth Seeker, can I please respond with a sensible response to this? And that is, you don't know what the side effects are of using and creating this free energy. There may be some severe side effects, like a critical mass type of thing that can happen when too many people or too many generators would create free energy. And there's even hints out there in the far past that it could have been the flood was triggered by a critical mass of free energy, and there may have been a super large electrical storm caused by a critical mass of free energy. So we don't know that. We know we can create this free energy probably using these techniques, but we don't know what the side effects are. And the elite probably
the side
do.
effects are actually freeing yourself, becoming a sovereign.
Yeah. I know that's
Hold on,
that's your greed. That's your greed that wants everything. But you don't know what
you just asked him a question. Can't you just let him
Yeah,
answer? You
the
gave him
side
about 5
effects are not
seconds.
becoming a fucking debt slave. And
Yeah, that's the second
swear.
time.
Try not to swear,
Stop
man.
swearing.
But let him answer, Arwen.
yeah, everyone's saying this stuff doesn't matter, but Flat Earth completely revealed all of our science and physics is junk that's used to keep us as servants, okay? So it's funny that all you guys are brushing this over like, well, we just found out all this stuff was used to keep us down. But come on, we shouldn't just delve into this free energy stuff. We should take it gingerly
No,
and
I'm not
blow up the
saying
world.
I'm
Yeah,
not
you are.
saying no. I'm not.
You're a
I'm
good-
just
you're a
saying
good
it
servant.
may not be absolutely 100% as free as you would like it to be. There may be side effects that would give the elite a good reason to keep it a secret, because if everybody can just make this in their basement, then it could create
I want to
potential
know your
cataclysm.
definition of elites, because all of this process is
The one that
starting out to me,
actually
we
have
are the
all
elites.
these patents stored in their databases
used-
and that
who's
do
used
make
for
the
every-
giant companies and the design get the engines designed in the way they want.
Oh, hello,
That's
B.
really-
Can you say hello?
We are the elite.
Hold on.
They rely
Hello,
on us for
Beefeater.
everything. They're not elite about anything. You understand that, right? They don't even know how to change their own oil. They're a bunch of inbred sociopaths. We are the elites.
Can I just phrase it differently, True Seeker? So you've probably seen various different videos where they show things like the ground being drawn up with electrical currents being passed through it, sand being turned into mountains on the small scale, of course, again with electrical currents. So what Arwen's describing is a potential for, and I agree with him, not free energy, but an extraction of energy from the system. And it may very well be the case that we are in a very delicate balance. You know, if we are in a closed system, and this is just speculative, then we could be in a very, very precarious position if we mess with anything. So I think that Arwen could be right. We could be extracting energy from a system. And you reference magnetism. Well, if magnets are a conductor for this field that is around us, and we start extracting energy from that field, you might end up with what could be the basis of creation. Or, if you look at it on the other side of that coin, total annihilation. In other words, if the mountains have been drawn up from electrical effects that aren't taking millions and billions of years to happen, but are taking days, quite literally days, you know, huge massive arc strikes that bring up the ground from beneath our feet, but simultaneously wipe everything out in the process, then you wouldn't want to mess with that. It might be a very good reason to actually try and get rid of some of these ideas or conceal them. In other words,
Morning.
Hi, Music Man.
Yeah, that you clarified that actually much more. I appreciate you for doing that. The only thing is I think it's odd that before we even start discussing it, it's already being like fear porn into us. Like, well, we don't want to get too deep into it because it might just blow up the world. It's like,
oh, really? So everyone is doing that? No, I bring this up. I actually just now brought this up. There's no people talking about it. There's just people like you, like, oh, they're taking it away from us. They're taking, without actually considering the potential consequences of what this free energy could do.
Yeah,
so,
no,
it's not being fear porn at all,
okay.
True Seeker.
Yeah, okay.
It's not being
right.
fear
well,
porn.
Paranoid.
It's just not being mentioned. It's being denied. They're not fear porning it yet. They're just denying it.
I misunderstood. Being lied to for half my life. Rightfully
9,000 liters. You only need a tank 1.5 meters high by 3 meters wide. So I don't know why you're saying the wings are not big enough.
Say that again. What's not big enough?
But going back to Truth Seeker was saying that the wings aren't big enough to hold 9,000 liters of fuel.
I said on the fighter jets. I forget what the model was, but yeah, somebody was showing on a fighter jet The wings weren't even close to a meter thick. I mean, they were very
I've
thick.
got to agree. I don't agree with the principle that they don't need fuel at all, but that was what I thought the point was. But I do agree that the volume that's required to fill these planes, if it is the way that they say, there ain't the capacity in the wings to be able to put that amount in, especially into a fighter jet. I would agree with that.
And then you can look at videos where they're disassembling. There's no liquid fuel dripping out of the tanks. It's all dry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what we're basically explaining is that the fuel that is actually in that engine system is like the flint and steel to spark the process, to spark the flame, which once going is almost perfectly efficient and doesn't really require a lot because of the self-perpetuating vacuum that just need a very little push to keep perpetuating it in itself. That's basically how that works.
Don't know what to believe these days. Everything's so far contrived, isn't it?
Well, it is. There is a lot of very complex, advanced technology being hidden in plain sight, and the planes is one of the most extreme examples of this. And
yeah, watching A380 take off and land, it's actually marvelous. Now that you know what you're looking at, it's actually it's quite beautiful.
It's bizarre that with the old airplanes, they had to go up horizontally, but these newer airplanes, they almost just lift off vertically, which makes no sense for something that heavy.
I agree, Trucy. If you want to see a sight for sore eyes, watch an A380 take off. It is unbelievable. And if you ever see one sitting next to like any other jumbo jet that you would consider large, it ain't. It's just dwarfed by this enormous thing. And seeing it take off is just stupid. It looks like it shouldn't.
Like a bumblebee.
Yeah,
it is. Kinda. It is almost literally like a bumblebee.
Well, I don't know. I think bumblebees are actually interacting with the electromagnetic field. They
resonance. Yep, they use resonance.
Yeah, they seem to be defying the laws of physics in terms of their capacity for lift with their wings. Let's put it that way.
I think they create this electrostatic field. I think.
I tell you what's an interesting observation. If you go to Google Earth, find any field anywhere on the Earth that's got cows in it. Look at the cattle. The cattle are virtually all the time, in almost all instances, the cows are all facing the same way. Are you telling me that that's like a total fluke? Shouldn't they all be randomly dispersed, all pointing different directions? Well, every field, everywhere on the Earth, all the cows appear to be pointing in the same direction. Is it possible that they've got some element of like compassness to them in terms of the magnetism and the magnetic fields that we sit in that people don't accept or acknowledge that exist? They all seem to be pointing the same way. I wonder why that might be.
I wonder if they're all Muslims.
Could be.
I think that everything that's alive to a certain degree has that ability.
I think all creatures have some kind of relation or susceptibility to magnetism, one way or the other.
It's just part of what we are.
I agree. Yeah. Just is what it is physically what we are. We are definitely interacting with that field.
It's true with dogs, They say they always face north when they go poo.
That's lovely.
So now we know that the elites definitely know what the Earth looks like, because if they don't have to worry about jet fuel,
dogs,
just think about it. They could go anywhere with a limited amount of fuel. Literally anywhere.
No, I think they're still
that is
limited to the rule system that apply to them, and there's a big chance they don't even know the entire story. They just get presented with the elite version of what it really is and how they're fooling the entire world, but they themselves might not even know the entire thing. That's his from
the whole thing about chemtrails.
Sorry, I just want to say I do totally agree with Matrix, because up until now, when hearing this on the grapevine about this no fuel thing, what's the motive? And I think Matrix has just summed it beautifully, because if you've got super efficient engines, you can go much, much, much further.
Anywhere, you can go anywhere.
Yep.
They want us staying right in our little places going to work.
Yeah, they want a fence. They want to fence us in.
I think that's what the whole chemtrail thing is about. We over here freaking out thinking that they're just dumping the freaking fuel to be able to refuel when they get back.
I think that then the entire world would smell like petrol if that was the case.
Yeah, jet fuel.
What
It's
about the air,
very, very distinct smell. It carries very far. So
what
Okay.
about aircraft which refuel mid-air?
There is another explanation for why the contrails may be part of our living world. It's apparent that we're at solar minimum with regards to the sun and the activity on the sunspots. Since the sun's not, as far as I can see, in the last 6 weeks, there hasn't been a single sunspot on the sun of any significance. We are entering a solar minimum with regards to the sun's activity. It appears to me that all this aluminium oxide that they're spraying up into the atmosphere, which is well known that they are actually doing, reflecting sunlight back into the atmosphere. That light, which would ordinarily be lost, is probably being reflected back into the atmosphere somehow, making us feel a little bit warmer than what we actually are, because we are entering a solar minimum. We're going cold.
but they've been doing it for over 20 years, and that wasn't exactly the case 20 years back. So
Yeah, well,
there's a multitude of reasons why they're chemtrailing us, and they're very different directions.
They spray at night.
Go ahead, Tree Seeker.
They spray at night.
You're breaking up, Truth. Can barely hear you.
The truth is breaking up.
You're on mute at the moment.
His mic or his connection mostly.
Any of you guys have any idea what the stars could be?
No idea.
Intangible sources of light.
They could just be projectors.
Could be a million different things.
The problem with being projectors or manifestations of light or whatever is that whatever they are rigid to themselves. They are rigid. There is no parallax. That's the first thing. But it's a construct of some kind, and I don't know how there could be a construct of like a projection based thing, because that kind of, unless there's a tree of life at the North Pole that's emitting all this, it doesn't really make sense.
Or it could just be inherent to the design of the world itself.
Sure.
As part of the magnetics.
I got a P900, and I live pretty high up. So when I tend to zoom into the moon and the stars, I see very weird shit.
All right.
Yeah. I really haven't come out publicly with these things because I have to be very sure of what I'm looking at.
Why? Why don't you not just present the footage? That's very interesting stuff. Why not just throw it out there?
I'm taking my time to. I want to see what the hell is it that I'm looking at. Every time I try to zoom in the stars, it just gets blurry. When I step out of the zoom, you could say I see something else, not a star. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe the reflection of a light of a vehicle or something.
Can I just point out that Slice Barcane in chat thinks that there would be parallax on the stars if there were a dome. There would be parallax if on a dome. Really, Sly? How would there be parallax if we were in a dome?
He's just pulling that out of his ass.
Yeah, he's just literally randomly. Yeah, I agree.
But I do agree with him in terms of what he's just said about the P900 and looking at the stars. It's just focus. It's a focus issue with the P900.
Terrible camera.
Yeah, get yourself a telescope. It's far easier. Well, it's
I
not
have
easy
footage
at all.
of the moon
I'm
as
lying,
well,
but
and the moon does appear to be round, but it doesn't appear to be lit up the whole thing. Only one side of it appears to be lit up.
Well, that's drawing a conclusion that it has multiple sides, and that would make it physical. I don't think the moon is physical. I think it's an apparent disk, and has a very strange appearance. Like even the other night, during this period, like the moon is like this fine sickle, and it just has this very distinct black disc part to it when it's like that, and that is just so weird. It looks so bizarre, so surreal, and doesn't make any sense shadow wise. Like what type of, it couldn't be like a shadow being cast in any way, but it just looks so strange.
Couldn't it be that the shadows are just kind of like, since the first part is round, the beginning, the shadow just kind of, molded themselves to the shape of, you know what I'm saying? Because I have pictures and I could see roundness. You can't, and I could see one side lighting up and the other side you see dark, but you could clearly see the roundness.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. But it's only like that when it's getting that fine, when the sickle is getting very very small. Then it starts to look like that. Like even halfway, you don't see that at all.
Every time I see a
And
film,
it doesn't make any sense even because you can still see the sickle during the daylight, and then you don't see any dark side at all. You don't have that effect like in the night. It's just a very strange optical phenomena. And I don't even consider it a shadow anymore. It's just the dark side.
Have we considered the
Dark phase.
possibility of multiple moons?
No.
Maybe certain sections have a different moon, and we just don't know.
Well, we don't know exactly how the disk works. There may be some kind of interaction somewhere, but there's only just one moon, really. So whatever we get to see, it's only that one disk, and however that disk works, maybe multiple elements that add to its appearance the way it is, but there's definitely only one moon.
on a clear night, it reminds me of a petri dish in school when you see the in vitro in it.
Yeah, I agree. It's just so weird.
So anyway, going back to the question, Nathan answered that nothing would change. So what are we doing?
Well, no. Literally, physically, nothing would change because nothing can change.
What
When you
about
say-
socially then?
Well, when you said the world is now flat, it made it, the way you phrased it made it sound like currently we physically are on a spherical ball, and then suddenly tomorrow I wake up and then it's all a flat plane. Well, that ain't the case. It's flat now, whether you like it or not, whether you realise it or not, whether you understand it or not, whether you accept it or not. It's flat now. It is flat.
It's like
always
they
was
think
flat.
that it morphs from being round. Like they just envision it transforming into flat. They don't understand that it means that it's always been. That's it. It's really not that complicated. It's been flat. We've just simply been lied to about it.
I don't think there would be further exploration because people like ourselves have not got the means and can't afford to. And those who can afford to explore fully have obviously already done so.
Yeah, I mean, there's personal and sociological changes that would occur if everybody realised it. Because, A, they'd realise that they've been lied to, and B, they would become more empowered. That's the way I see it. That's just my personal opinion. But
more empowered how?
More what? Sorry?
Until we don't come up with a solution, I don't see really anything happening. Because I don't really see the people in the government quitting their jobs. I don't really see people not working because they have to pay bills, they have to eat. You know, so just stopping the system is not going to work. We have to figure something out first so people can accept it, because I don't really think there are people that they don't understand. People are very smart.
When you say
no.
When you say a solution,
it's the fear of the aftermath.
Solution.
They don't realize that the Earth is flat. But
what is the problem, though?
What is the problem? Is there's too many entanglements with globe-based scams, money-making scams based on illusions.
But listen,
and using those illusions to fool people with dreams to give them all their money, and the responsibility of the aftermath of that is what holding it back from being declassified, among other things.
But it doesn't matter what street the Earth is going to turn out to be. People who are morons will be easily parted with their money anyway.
Well, that's the weird thing. Even if it was officially declassified, and can you imagine that? Then there's still a great chance that a big group of people would just not believe it. They would say, "No, we don't trust you, government. We think it's a globe. You're gonna tell us it's a globe. Now shut up."
And it's going to create resentment, because now we're going to want to explore. So now, by telling us that, they're also going to have to tell us that there's limits. And you know, as humans, we don't really like limits.
But it doesn't need to be limits like that. There may be limits upwards, but we don't even know. And even if they declassify Flat Earth, that doesn't mean that they're going to then allow us to leave the island, basically.
Any species, though, only develops once it's already settled and finished exploring.
Not necessarily. It all depends on the mass A culture can develop on an island as well. It just doesn't go as fast because there's not as much interactions. It's always the more interactions between individuals, the faster the development eventually goes. But there's always development, no matter the size.
You're saying the species develop whilst they're still exploring, do you?
Sorry?
Every species finishes exploring, then develops a society.
No.
Well, that's just
No, that's not true. No, why would that? And by the way, like, how much species do you have to compare that with? Because it's just humans.
you can go down to bacteria.
Human civilizations have also developed just on the regions that they knew that they could reach. So it's not true.
I would like to hear a bit of qualification from that, Arwen, actually.
So Music Man,
hold on, Arwen.
In there.
Let's see you qualify that. So you're saying that a species should naturally explore its surroundings and then evolve. Is that what you're generally saying? Have I got that right?
Not to evolve, no, but for humans, but for us, for example, we explore our territory, and only when we finish exploring and we know our habitat can we develop and become civilization. So in my mind, this is why perhaps we've been lied to. So people stop exploring, and civilization is more quickly to develop.
Fair enough. I mean, I'll put this to the whole panel because there's an air of flat Earth that gives people the impression that we think the elites are out to swindle us and deceive us. And earlier we talked about perhaps free energy might be potentially, let's not get everyone all hot under the collar, best kept, tentatively looked at rather than just gung-ho explored, because it could cause huge amounts of problems. So could it be the case that at the end of our little journey into flat Earth, we discover that the reason we've been lied to about the heliocentric system is because we would potentially destroy ourselves if we weren't kept under quote-unquote control, which is what this is. It's a control structure. But maybe there's a good reason for it.
Settle down, isn't it? You need to settle the species.
Well, I think that we could probably handle the responsibility, but not in the state that we are in just yet. Because as a culture, we've been kept into this form of slavery, and it's very apparent. Like, just look how people handle themselves, how they deal with others. It doesn't seem like everybody could be responsible enough to handle that level of technology with all the consequences that would come with them. But eventually, if we get over this form of slavery gradually, teach ourselves to be responsible and to deal with others responsibly, then eventually we might attain that level of responsibility necessary to handle that level of technology.
Are we currently amidst the longest span of peacetime known to us as a civilization? I think
is it really?
Yeah.
So what about all those wars that happened over the last half century, constantly everywhere?
Well, the further you go back in history, the more death there has been.
Yeah, but to say there's no wars, I
didn't say there's no wars. I said we are currently living in the longest span of peacetime.
I don't know. Are we? Or have we just displaced the wars outside of our borders?
Hitler, World War I, World War II, and go back before then in Africa, Asia. Look at all of the mass killings of not thousands of people, millions and millions of people. This is, if history is true, as it's been, even though it's always written by the victor, but if it is true, then we are living in the longest span of peacetime.
I don't know about that. Like, if you consider the Roman Empire to be completely legitimately real, then in Rome itself, there was also a very, very long, centuries-long period where there was peace inside of Rome. But outside of Rome, they were constantly warring on everyone.
Well,
that's the same with the Western world. Like, just look at the Middle East. It's a constant war. So no, there is not a universal peace. There's always been wars, always, almost all the time, everywhere.
Yes.
It's just not within our current borders.
Can you guys see the picture?
Yeah. Oh,
You see what I was
nice.
talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It looks very round.
Apparent black part.
It looks very round, and I have a lot of pictures of the moon.
It's good. It's very lit up, though. Has it been extra exposed, or is this during a misty moment?
I guess, yeah, because I have to shoot through a window, so sometimes.
Yeah, that's going to distort the image a lot. You should definitely just take the photos outside if you really want it to be sharp.
Yeah.
But still looks pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
My brother lives in Ecuador, and that the fuel there is so cheap compared to the UK. 10 pence a gallon or something stupid.
I just want to give a shout out to Sly Sparkane. He claims that I'm misquoting him. I'm very, very careful to quote you exactly as you said it, Sly. I even put it in speech marks to show that I'm being accurate. Don't quit whining in text. If you think there's an issue, Sly, join us. Let's sort it out. I got the evidence that I can present to you, so we're waiting for you.
Of course, we will establish with Sly that it is all looming.
Looming.
Looming for loonies. Looney Tunes.
Looney Tunes.
I'm not sure.
Sorry if you can hear a light thud, Nathan. The boys next door have put their music on.
No, I don't hear anything coming through you.
It's very annoying.
Yeah, kids, eh?
Shocking.
Yeah, it's always been like that. Oh, at least, well, no, it's always been like that. Pretty much.
I hope you're all enjoying the debate thus far. We have approximately 1 hour left on this live stream. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside the show while it's live, and a link in the info box below the video once it has rendered. Most importantly, if you would like to join the show, simply click the link in the info box below this video. Be sure to mute the watch page, mute the page you are currently watching before you join. Also, please share the show as this increases the live audience, and that in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. There is approximately 1 hour left on this live stream.
And then they start to fall back in their blind trust of authority even more, and like the concept of conspiracy theorists suddenly gains a lot more weight and a lot more legitimacy. So that could, it already is to some degree, creating a social revolution. People are reasserting their own individual position in the world.
We need to stop the revolution, though, don't we?
Why?
Because a revolution means you start from the beginning again, and who needs that?
Revolution, evolution, I don't know. It doesn't have to be like an overthrow violently. It could just be a natural transition.
In most societies, there are 6 or 7 steps. In a democratic one, there are 8 steps, yeah? And they say we're now in the 7th of 8 steps. And the next one is being, back from bondage or slavery. But who wants to go back there? If people do revolt, there'll be no order.
Revolt or just transit. That's the whole thing.
Transit into what?
Into a less deceiving system to manage the
But it's man
society.
himself who does the deceiving. You can't change that. It's human nature.
Though there will always be deceptions up to some degree, but we can transit into a less deceitful system. If the look, there's a lot of people up the chain of command that don't want to have the entire world be destroyed. See, they don't want that either. So they will also be they will be welcoming something that just changes how it works without destroying everything.
Oh, I disagree. I think the last man to enter Parliament with good intentions was Guy Fawkes.
No, I don't think people want to blow up the entire world.
No,
I think that's only a very minute amount of people that are so power drunk that they're no longer human.
Yeah, that's not they're not going to blow up the whole world. They're just going to blow up government buildings for those which have lied against us or to us.
I made a video about Guy Fawkes.
This is as much as I'm able to see when I zoom in.
Check out my video on Guy Fawkes if you've not seen it already.
Yeah, but
I think we should celebrate Guy Fawkes. I just wish the fireworks weren't as stupidly loud as what they actually are these days and go on for weeks afterwards as well.
And before.
Yeah.
Like a month ahead of time.
Love it. Love fireworks night. Awesome.
Yeah, I like the fireworks night. I just don't like the idiot people that like ruin it for everybody else. We have dogs, man.
No, they call it a bonfire. It's actually a derivative of bone fire. It's pretty gruesome. The whole thing, Halloween, bonfire night, the whole thing is well gruesome. It's all about witchcraft.
No, we got Easter fires here, big ones.
My sister's rabbit had a heart attack last bonfire night, bless her.
We sound like old men on a bench.
Oh, you're the oldest one.
Yes, I didn't fight in 2 world wars, Owen, I admit.
Oh, wow.
It could be 15 for all we know.
So, how old are you really?
Did you hear what I said?
Yeah, you did.
2 world wars, we got the joke. No one laughed.
It was my best joke for today.
Oh,
All right.
Disappointing. Not on form, Alan. Oh, got a sniper alert.
Morning.
Oh, no, maybe not. Hey, S. Darty, good to have you here.
Sorry. You said sniper alert and I didn't take any chances.
Oh, I'm really sorry, Darty. Booted
I
you
looked
in
at the name and I
advance,
just thought, there's no way that's a real person. So apologies, that was my fault.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Kind of random
No
scribbling.
avatar. Jump straight on mute. Our mistake. These things happen. So yeah, you're not on form today, Alan. Yesterday you were funny.
Well, I've been snowed in, you know, haven't had much company.
Yeah, it's still snow on the ground in Birmingham. I can't believe it.
Yes, Leeds seems to be considerably higher than anywhere else.
This is a star, guys.
Say
Is that
again, Matrix?
fireworks? Oh, hey, it's a dancing star. Cool.
Hang on a minute. That's meant to be a tangible object that we can measure.
No. That is just an effect of the P900. I'm sure to get around it, you can...
No, it's a light. There's definitely something behind it because when it's trying to autofocus, you could kind of see something. But when it tries to take the picture, it just looks like that.
Sure.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is on their model, it's meant to be a light that's trillions of miles away, right?
Nah, that's bullshit.
What I'm trying to just let me get it in. It won't look like that through a telescope. It's just a manifestation of the crazy autofocus in very, very, very low light. Yeah, I'm sure Anthony's told me in the past that the sensor on the P900 is it's absolutely tiny. It's like akin to an iPhone sensor. So it's not a great big sensor. The thing you're buying in a P900 is the zoom and the autofocus. That's what they've spent all the money on. And when you're using it with a tiny little sensor, it's not going to be great at picking up light. And also, it's trying to constantly autofocus itself. I can't remember who, but one of the Globers showed how you actually do this. So you slip I think it's like a piece of paper in front of it temporarily, and it will focus on it, and you'll get what you see through a telescope. And it isn't the same. You know, you can get it to focus into a proper star-looking thing, as opposed to this kind of thing that looks like it's underwater. It is just a manifestation of an artifact that camera develops with its autofocus. I've got to get it in there because there's going to be. I just don't want a whole new raft of people that haven't seen last year's debunking of this. You know, that's all.
Well, I want to shout out to Nick L, or Nick with no L, who thinks that with stellar spectroscopy we can establish that the stars are tangible objects. And I call bullshit. I don't think that you can tell anything about stellar spectroscopy.
Check out my video called Transsexual Spectroscopy, Nick.
The what?
Transsexual spectroscopy. Check it out. Video about this subject. Right. I'm not joking. I haven't got the title wrong. I am referencing a correct thing.
Wow.
Yeah. Check out that search. Transsexual spectroscopy.
Which is probably the best title name for a video I've ever heard.
I like that one when I came up with it.
Yeah, it's such a
There is a transsexual in the example, though, so, you know, it's not clickbait.
There is a transsexual?
In the example, yeah. Analogous to the stars.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Hey, by the way, is there a better camera out there that could actually zoom in on a star, on a good, well-visible stars very, very closely that would not have these types of artifacts as
It's
the
called a
P900?
telescope.
I think the B700 could
Hello,
be because it has better resolution. It
Hello,
just doesn't
can you hear
have
us?
83 times zoom.
Hold
It
on,
has
Matrix.
60.
Sorry. Hello. Good to have you, HDTG.
So maybe the B700
Hello.
could get better images.
Yeah, you want to avoid aperture and a long exposure time. You know, just sort of shutter speeds.
Yeah.
Talking big money for decent stuff.
If
Is
you want to
there
know what
anybody
equipment
out
you
there?
need, just
Actually,
check
the
out.
B900
Sorry, just
does
do a
have-
quick plug. So Chris D, formerly channel name CD, CEEDEE, is now called Take Back Space TV. So that's the channel name to search for. Take Back Space TV, and that's Chris D's channel, and he is exceptional. He's got all the right equipment. If you catch him on one of his live streams of the moon, the planets, you can get the idea from the channel name, Take Back Space. You can get the gist. But he's very, very accommodating in his chat. So if you ask him about any of the equipment he uses, recommendations, where to start, you know, he's on his second or third generation of equipment that he's using. So, you know, he's using a good camera body, a good telescope, and a good equatorial mount, and that's it. But he has gone through the stages of using various other pieces of equipment to get to that stage. And the first thing you'll notice when you watch his channel is you'll think, I'm wasting my time, because that's the conclusion I came to. Because, I don't know, 2 years ago when he was called CD, I watched him and I'd got a telescope literally where I'm sat now. We didn't have a kid, and etc. etc. So I used to look through my telescope through this window, and I'd watch Chris D, and I'd tell him that in his live chat that he was getting sort of 80% of what I could get out of my telescope when he was streaming in 1080p. Whereas now he's streaming in 4K, and it's better than I can do. He can resolve more than I can resolve in my 7.5-inch scope. So it beggars belief how good the stuff he produces on screen is. I mean, I've got a lovely big screen to watch it on, admittedly, which most people don't. But for me, what I could see on my big screen from Chris D on Take Back Space TV was better than I could do myself. Nothing else can really. That's as good as you can really get, as far as I'm concerned. It's fantastic what he does, and you can ask him to go anywhere. You know, take me to Orion's Belt, please. Yeah, no worries. Half a second later, he's there. He's got the muscle memory. He's just been doing it for such a long time. He can just put the inputs in with a few moves of his wrist, and he's on wherever he needs to be, and he can just do it. Whereas for me, with a scope, you know, it's a lot of swearing and, you know, a lot of moving the scope and it drifting away and all that kind of stuff. You know, that's what I got. But once you actually get something in your scope, and I'm sure anybody who's got a telescope will agree, once you actually get something, it's magical. It really is fantastic. Yeah. But Chris can do that in a heartbeat. You can just ask him in his chat.
It's hard to believe.
I'll take a look.
Independent, the quality of his productions are amazing. I must agree on that.
Yeah, it's like a longer version of what Crow CRROW777. So Crow 777 also does moon watching and things, but he doesn't do a continuous live stream of space with a live chat where you can ask him to zoom in on things for you, whereas Chris does.
Cool. I'll check him out.
I've used it once or twice. a refracting one. Got to be patient to set them up, haven't you? Very patient.
Yeah.
I'd like to call
Hence
Nick
the
out.
swearing, the cursing and the shouting, the kicking it, saying it's
Well, I was
broken.
trying to set mine up on a garden decking, so obviously when people walk across it, it vibrates. So I was just swearing at everyone, when
I
anyone
can
walks
imagine.
the decking. Yeah.
Good fun though.
Went
Good
through a
fun.
bad-
Happy times.
Yeah.
Guys, I have to go. Thank you for having me.
No
It's
worries.
been an absolute pleasure, Matrix. You've been a great guest again.
Yes,
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Take
You
care.
too, boy Matrix.
So, Nick L claims that stellar spectroscopy proves the stars are tangible. I'm going to call you out on that, Nick. Please join the panel. Present your evidence that proves that the stars are tangible.
Nick actually joining a panel.
Yeah,
Like-
the troll that he is.
Nah, I don't
Don't
think
they
so.
say that the closest star is our sun, yes? So they're saying all those stars are all suns. Just,
Yeah, that's absolute nonsense.
yeah. If the sun's heat can reach us from 93 million miles away, then surely the heat from all those stars would, they'd penetrate each other's diameters, wouldn't they? Or their perimeters.
Well, that, and just consider that even if the sun, just the sun out there, would be, according to the heliocentric model, a distance away with a vacuum of space in between, then any objects in that space would then start to collect heat from the sunlight without it being able to escape because it's trapped.
Yeah, I tell you what, that's pissing
So
me off.
everything would just melt out there
Have you seen
whenever
this?
the sun comes over it.
Have you seen this new channel now? Simon Dan, I think it's called. Science Man
he's a
Dan.
jerk.
Think about this, right? He's a primary school teacher. So this is the next generation of kids are being taught by Muppets like that.
Ask him to explain why the moonlight appears to be cold.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've covered Simon Dan. He's the guy that was having a go at Phuket Word. Nick?
Yeah. He's also had a go at Beyond the Imaginary Curve.
Yeah.
So let's get Simon Dan in here and let's see what evidence he's got for some of his nonsense.
He's been asked to come on and debate, but he just keeps saying, yeah, it's no point because when he offers science, it gets rejected.
Yeah, because it's science without evidence. That's the point.
Pseudoscience gets rejected.
Yeah, that's where Rumpus struggles. Rumpus thinks that pseudoscience is proof.
Keep on. Question, Stephen Waddock. If the Earth is flat, why are observed star trails at the two poles observed going in the opposite directions? Are they really? I don't know. Maybe they are, but yeah, nothing of the globe of the heavens really relates to the physical shape of the Earth.
Has
You can prove
has
their
anyone ever actually thought
you can
about
prove they're
that?
tangible objects out there. So
Yeah, intangible. Say it with me. What did you
Yeah.
say, True Seeker? Or was it Music Man?
If you stand in between two carousels and both are spinning east to west, one is north and one south. If you look at the north one will spin counterclockwise and one will spin clockwise. It's just perspective.
Yeah,
that
only
was,
morons don't think that.
That was Quantum
do-
Eraser's example as well.
Yeah, it's just the top and bottom of a spinning rod.
Yeah.
Yeah, two carousels. One, and you're standing looking in between them, and then you just turn around and look one way, and then turn around and look the other.
Yeah.
how can I prove that the globe of the heavens is not related to the shape of the Earth? No, you can't prove that they are.
Correct.
Say it again. Say it with me. Intangible.
Intangible?
What was the word we're supposed to be saying with you, Nathan? Was it tangible or intangible?
Intangible. Say it with me. Come on.
Tangible.
Intangible. For
Tangible.
God's sake. Oh, God.
Tangible?
Nathan, talking of words, say assume.
Assume.
Tangible is like tangible.
Why'd you ask me to say that?
You've been tangled!
Why'd you ask me to say that? Is it got a bit of Brummy twang to it?
Yes, you go assume.
Oh, right.
Can I just address Paul, the dodgy one, Voigt, the science teacher from primary school? He claims that science without evidence, lol, Sleeping Warrior is the expert on that one. He practices it all the time. For the benefit of anybody that doesn't know Paul Voigt, he believes that the core of the Earth is a molten iron core, partly nickel, but it self-perpetuates its own electric charge by convection currents and inertia. Yet there is no evidence whatsoever to show that this is true. So without any evidence whatsoever, Paul believes his nonsense, and he's not been on the panel ever since because we keep asking him to produce said proof because it's the fundamental concept of the ball that we're supposed to live on. Paul doesn't have any proof of this, and Paul keeps away because of it. Shout out to Paul Voigt in chat.
Yeah, he's a thick one.
Yeah, he's a knob
He's
end.
not thick.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go that far. He's just a denier.
Yeah.
He is a denier. He's like Rumpus. He struggled with the word reduced as well when Nathan asked whether or not the Ordnance Survey map was flat or whether it was based on a ball. And when we looked it up, it turned out it was flattened and reduced to the map plane that it was being referenced on. And Paul didn't like the word reduced. We had to get the dictionary out, and he still said it didn't mean it in this context.
Oxy thinks he
doing
can
so
spot
well
the
in his
tranny
career
with
as
a P900 across the lake. So he's saying, yeah, man, if I've got a P900, I'd know if it was a tranny on the other side of that lake. Okay. Fair enough.
Jeffrey Pinion says, at Arwin, perhaps our observation of the heavens from different places on Earth can teach us about the shape of the Earth from which we observe the heavens. No, it can. The only thing that it can prove is that there is an angular difference between the star positions in relation to the Earth distance. The distance over the Earth, the distance from one location on the Earth to the other. That's it. It's angular relations. That's all you got.
Can I just say that Jeffrey Pinion came on the other day and he was thoroughly pleasant. He was pleasant and he was like polite. He reminded me of Haunted House, Nathan. Do you think?
Yeah. Very similar temperament-wise.
Oh, Nick is complaining. Why can't the Glober come on? Why don't you come on, Nick?
Nick won't come on.
Nick that constantly calls us cowards for all kinds of reasons. Why don't you actually come on, Nick?
He hasn't got any evidence. He can't come on. He knows that we'll ask him for evidence. Paul Voigt, none of what you said is what I claim. Lying again much. Nath, what... Could you just address that on my behalf, given that I've already addressed it once?
Paul Voigt claims we have a spinning iron core that perpetuates itself. We say he has no proof of it, and he hasn't ever presented any. And every time he comes on, Anthony holds his toes to the fire and says, hello, Paul. Have you got any proof of the molten iron core? Love it.
And that molten iron can actually cause magnetic fields.
Yeah.
Well, it will be interesting to see an experiment that can prove that.
He also claimed once that the sun's rays always parallel come to Earth.
I said that, actually.
He also claimed once, what say that again?
That the sun's rays are all parallel coming to the Earth. If that is the case, then how can you possibly use the sun to triangulate?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Well, he's correct in that sense, because in my conceptualization of how the globe of the heavens works, including the sun is just a focal point of the uniform direction from which the daylight comes. And that would definitely fit the concept of the sunlight coming in parallel. So, yeah.
Can I just address Jared? He says seismology is shown in a core. Well, if you do a bit of research on the Kohler super deep borehole, seismology predicted numerous things about what they were expecting to see when they did the core samples. And one of the key things was that they expected the density of the rock to increase as it went deeper and deeper, and it actually decreased. Another thing they expected was concentrations of certain elements, and they basically got hydrogen. They weren't really expecting any hydrogen. They were expecting lots of other elements, but not hydrogen, and they were gobsmacked when they got that, because seismology suggested that there were going to be certain things there. And guess what? It didn't turn out the way they were expecting. So the conclusion was the seismology is subject to interpretation, and people can interpret different things from seismology, but it proves nothing.
Yeah, I can't recall who it was I heard saying a few days ago that they said all helium and hydrogen eventually leaves our atmosphere. If that's the case, why does water come down? You know, that's H2O.
I actually took like a lot of these hard rock, metamorphic rock classes, and I even remember when I was in university thinking like their explanations literally sounded ridiculous for how this stuff was happening.
It don't add up. Don't add up.
Kind of stupid, like Stephen Weddock. Explain observed star trails on flat Earth. Very funny. Yeah.
Shall I play
What's there to explain? You look up in the sky and then you see the patterns of how it works, and then you see how that pattern changes when you move to another location, and then you compare the results. It's, oh yeah, well that's how that works on a flat Earth.
First I was alone, I was petrified.
Beautiful, beautiful. More.
You like that, would you?
What was the first words that you said? At first, I was what?
Gloria Gaynor.
First I was alone, I was petrified.
No, that's not the right words.
That was lovely. Very nice.
First,
piano.
I was afraid. I was petrified.
Oh, I wasn't afraid though, Anthony. I changed it for giggles.
Oh, okay then.
Anyway, stop
Gloria
sniping me.
Gaynor. Shout out to Gloria.
I don't snipe you. I block you so you can't even get into snipe. Get it right?
That's wrong. And you talk over Arwin all the time.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Arwin bullies me. I try not to talk over him.
You don't listen.
Bully you? How do I bully you?
I love the baller tactic, and you blame him for your digressions and claim that he's bullying you. That's priceless.
Great.
Anthony's always played the victim.
Yeah, I'm a massive victim, aren't I?
Is anybody here a member of the FE Corps?
I don't think so.
I've been trying to source the results of that laser test, but I can't find anything at all on YouTube.
I don't think you just get them out of a guy from. Chris Monk's member of FE Corps, but you know he hasn't just got the results to give to us. They're keeping them under wraps. You know, it's.
Well,
I'm sure they've got a planned
Globebusters-
date, but they're not going to give them out just beforehand. I'm sure.
Globebusters made a release on Sunday. They said that they got a successful positive result at 14 kilometers, setting the new Hungarian record for the longest laser distance illumination of an object in the country, verified by Guinness. So that's what they said on Sunday, just gone.
Cool.
Let me address for a short moment the stupid globe nonsense assumptions that, because the stars turn in the other direction, the southern hemisphere then can't work on a flat Earth. No, it can. Just you change the globe of the heavens, it turns 180 degrees, and guess what? The spin of the globe of the heavens, that's inherent part of how it works, starts to turn the other way around. So it's, oh my God, that's so hard to figure out. So hard. Just I have to explain it every time because you people are dense, really are. Any proof? Oh, any proof? The proof is that it works like that because we observe it works like that. You have no proof that any of the globe of the heavens relates to the actual shape of the Earth. You can't prove it.
Can you understand German if you are Dutch?
No, but there are like the same type of roots in many speech components. So German is recognizable compared to Dutch in some ways, but it's a very different language. I'm not very good. I can't really speak German. If I hear people speak in German, then I can sort of deduce what they might be talking about, but they have many words that are just completely different. Like at least 3/4. So there's a lot more relations between much more close ties between English and Dutch, actually. It's a surprising relation. There's just the vowel rotation that makes it a bit confusing.
Turn your music down!
The earth
bloody
is flat.
kids. Bloody kids.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually heard it that time, Alan. It's really loud.
Sometimes I win all day long.
They'd probably say the same about you with your piano. Bloody Gloria Gaynor.
No, that was music.
Was it not a real piano?
That was me on my piano, yeah.
Yeah, it sounded lovely. Was it you playing it?
Yeah.
Music Man. That was lovely. Really was very nice. Nice in-tune piano. Sounded lovely.
Miles off, didn't I? There's a nice piano actually, a Rogers of London.
It almost seems like we're back to a year ago. It's like we got a nice little panel. It's pretty cozy here. Good conversations. Now it's just the trolls, and they just stay in the chat now. They're not coming back. Have they given up?
No, it's the Tombford Ballers. They won't come back. Paul's not going to come back in to be ridiculed for why he's not got evidence to back his assertion up that the Earth made of iron and nickel and it's all molten and it self-perpetuates and all that nonsense. He has to try and persuade us that it can be demonstrated with sodium, which, of course, if you chuck in water, it sets fire. And
Yeah, let me interrupt you for a moment because turn a favor.
You can't interrupt me.
Nick actually says the stars are a 1,000,000% tangible. Well, Nick, why don't you go grab your stars then, Nick?
Yeah, prove that the
go
stars are tangible.
and get your stars. Go and catch them. Come on, Nick. Go and catch the stars.
Do you want me to play you out with Fly Me to the Moon?
Yeah, why not? Love it. Love it. Why not?
You notice it's the same chord progression as the last one.
Can you play Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven?
Oh, yeah.
Once upon a time, there were 3 boys. Carry on playing, I'll sing.
And that's all, folks.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
So quiet.
Did you like it too?
going on?
Eleanor loved it.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Pinion says, molten iron has no permanent magnetism, but it does have induced magnetism. No, it can have induced magnetism, I agree. But what does induced mean? It means provided from an external source, right? So where would that source be, Jeff? And then he says, so if the molten core is surrounded by non-molten iron with permanent magnetism, no, it doesn't have permanent magnetism. It's exceeded the Curie temperature, Jeffrey. Look up the Curie temperature of iron, and then cross-reference it with the Curie temperature of nickel, which it doesn't have one. So where's the induced magnetism coming from? So the solid core can induce magnetism in the molten iron. No, it can't. It needs it to be provided.
Hi, Phil.
Hey, we got a chat.
Hey, can you hear me?
Explain this one for us.
Oh, I don't really want to talk about the Earth's core because that's not like incredibly established science.
But it's no science whatsoever because science usually has evidence to support it. So let's not talk about that.
Well, there's indirect evidence, but I mean that's a bit complicated.
That it's
not really
molten?
worth going into.
There's indirect evidence that it's molten.
Yeah.
Really? But how can that induce magnetism? Well, what's your
How can it
indirect
induce magnetism?
Yeah.
Well, you need to know the composition, and that's the hard thing to establish.
No, I don't think so. It doesn't really matter what the composition is because any metals, if they're molten, they're not gonna be.
Well, they're not a
carry
permanent
magnetism.
magnet.
It doesn't
No,
work.
they're not a permanent magnet, right? But They
Not
can
a permanent.
have
Oh,
right.
They're
Yeah.
fl-
Have you heard of ferromagnetism?
Yeah, that's still solid.
So
Still based on
ferromagnetism is when the
solid.
spins
I'm leaving for food, I am,
in a
guys.
solid. Oh, go ahead. Yes.
Cheers, bye. See you all again.
Bye.
Thanks,
Ta-da.
Music Man.
Later.
Later.
So ferromagnetism is when the spins in the metal, like the tiny electronic moments, which you can measure, they align spontaneously because of interactions between them. And they point in the same direction because of their own interactions. And that happens at very low temperatures, and that's what is called the Curie point.
Interesting. So you're saying that the core of the Earth is actually freezing then?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
Well, then
that
how
is
does that work with a molten core? Because molten metal
Right.
can't carry
Exactly.
magnetism. Doesn't work.
No. There's a difference between carrying ferromagnetism and having a magnetic field. So you can also have loops of currents, which will produce magnetic fields as well, correct?
Yeah, but where do they
If I
come
take a wire and I run current through it and it's looping around, it will create a magnetic
that
field.
wire
Agreed.
is
But
still
where
solid.
is it coming from?
The
Where-
wire
what?
is still solid.
Where is it coming from? On your model, once the Curie temperature is exceeded, it loses its permanent magnetic properties to be
It
replaced
loses
by-
its ferromagnetic properties,
No.
not the ability to conduct charge.
Do you want to bring up the definition?
Yeah,
There's a
just because
difference.
it can conduct
There's-
charge. It doesn't mean it can actually create magnetism. That's the whole point.
If
Doesn't
I have a
the-
loop
doesn't
of
the
current,
resistance
does that not
increase
produce
also?
a magnetic field?
Doesn't the
Well, where
resistance
it's coming from then?
does the resistance
It's
not
induced.
also
It's
increase
the
with
it's the
temperature?
dynamo. I mean, I'm not like an expert on this, but this is just
No, but
what
that's the whole
is-
point. A
In
dynamo
terms of its
works
conductivity, though, I thought the resistance would absolutely increase.
with the
A
current.
dynamo.
Liquid metal cannot create electricity as a dynamo. effect.
A dynamo is what happens when you have rotating fluids,
No,
magnetic fluids.
no,
Look up the
no,
definition
that's
of
not
a.
true. No,
It
that's
has to be a
absolutely not
fluid.
true. An actual dynamo works with solids. Solids moving past each other, creating that friction type of. I'm explaining it all wrong, but it's solid. We
No, it
use
has to be a fluid.
actual dynamos. The technology of the dynamos uses solid things. It doesn't use liquids at all. It's ridiculous.
What do you mean? Okay, whatever. I don't
Dynamo.
really care.
You know-
I just
you
want
know
to
the
get your
thing
opinion
that-
on these
that-
pictures.
You know, dynamos, how
wanna
they
get-
work, right?
Whatever. I really don't care. So, can I get your opinion on some pictures?
Sure.
All right. So, I have a bunch of photos. I just did a Google search for Isle of Man from St. Bees. And specifically, I'm just trying to look at basically the relative heights of the peaks in a bunch of different examples. So, in this picture, would you say that Snaefell is below or above North Barul? And to be clear, this is North Barul and this is Snaefell. Above, below, or the same height? So, what is
Pacific Warrior, this is your field of expertise.
Sorry, I'm just having a drink and some biscuits. Let me see. Would I say that? I would say it's online.
Yeah, I'd say it's a little bit. This picture here, it's like a little bit bigger, but yeah, it's almost the same. I mean, Snaefell's definitely not larger than North Barul in this picture. Like I can.
Yeah, but it's further away.
It's further away, though, right?
No, of course, it's further away. Yes. I just want to get your opinion about what you think this picture shows.
Well, I need to know what is the height of Snaefell, what is the height of North Barul.
Well, let's just go with the evidence so far. Let's not put in numbers yet, okay? Just look at the different evidence.
Can you put me a straight line across the two and let me see?
I'm going to do that in a minute.
I did.
I just want to show a few different pictures just so we can establish what we're actually seeing from St. Bees. Okay. Now this one, it definitely seems like from the perspective of this camera that Snaefell is lower than North Barul, right?
Right, maybe it seems that way, but put a straight line across it and let's see.
No, it isn't. The one on the right's higher again.
Yes, but this is North Barul and this is Snaefell.
Yeah, the one on the right's higher.
Okay, great. So North Barul appears to be higher than Snaefell from this perspective.
Sure.
Okay, great. Right, and in this one, so we don't know where the heights of these pictures are taken. I'm just taking random images, but this one, they look basically the same, right? So this is North Barul and this is Snaefell. And this one, I'm not sure if it's actually taken at the same angle. It looks a little bit different. So it's maybe this one's not a very good comparison to use because we don't know if this is the right angle of looking at it. But you can kind of make out
a very
that
high up photograph.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's definitely like
they're exactly the same.
100 feet at least.
They're the same.
Yeah. It's very high up.
Just to answer your question, they're the same height.
Yeah, they look the same. Okay, great. And then in this one...
This is fun.
This one, North Barul, looks a little tiny bit higher than Snaefell, right? Just a teeny tiny bit. I know I can't draw... Unfortunately, I can't draw a line in this program, so like at some point I'll have to go in and edit these photos manually and put in a line so we can know for sure. But I just want to get like a rough opinion from you guys, what you think.
They're exactly the same height.
To be honest with you,
hold on, I've just done it. Hold on, I've just done it with the straight line. They are exactly the same height.
Okay, so at least we've established that from St. Bees, from multiple locations, North Barul is either higher or pretty close to exactly the same as Snaefell, from the perspective of observers at St. Bees. Can we agree that this is the accepted reality of what we see?
No, not really.
Observation.
I would say it's too different.
Yeah, well, no. Okay.
Hold on. Let's get an answer for Phil one at a time, though. So maybe you jumped in first, Anthony. So actually give him an answer, and then if Arwen wants to give him an answer, and if True Seeker wants to give him an answer, just one at a time.
True Seeker's not here anymore, by the way.
Yeah, he is.
Where?
It's just on a HDTG is True
Oh.
Seeker.
Is that you? I didn't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so do you want to... You're saying no, even though I've just drawn a straight line, and I would basically be foolish to not concede that. But there we go. We don't know much about the photos. Maybe that's what you were going to say, Anthony. I don't know.
Well, you know when Rumpus was arguing over a few pixels, and I was like, no, it's not a few pixels. That dog is under about 30 pixels. This literally is a few pixels. So
yeah.
Rumpus argues that a few pixels was for the dog in the other hangout. Well, no, that was like 30, but this really is a few pixels. So I don't think it's this. I don't think you can make any conclusions because you'd have to make sure that the line you put in was parallel to the horizon for adjusting for the tilt of the camera as well.
Yeah,
so
that's a good point. That's a good point.
It's difficult to say either way. But is he still here? Is he gone?
Me?
Yeah, is it Philip that was presenting?
Yeah. That can you hear me?
Sure. Yeah. We can hear you. Can I respond to these comments?
You've got a point. You've got a point. On the one I've just measured them as the same. So the horizon is going up towards the right. So in other words, you've got more water under the right-hand side than you do under the left-hand side. So that's an interesting point.
Yeah, so that's a good idea. So we need to use the horizon as a way of showing level, right? And then we move that up and then compare the peaks. I completely agree. I'm just trying to get a rough estimate. Do you think these pictures are acceptable observations that we can draw conclusions from?
I think there's more persuasive evidence that we can use with regards to them two things. If I could present my screen, I could show you what I mean.
Okay, fine.
Hold on,
yeah.
before you do, hold on. Philip might have
stop.
not finished yet. So is that the end of what you've got, or have you got more, Philip?
Well, so I need to do a more careful analysis before I can actually say what I want to say. But I just want to kind of establish a data set of observed reality that we can actually both agree on. Being,
when you're doing your
here we can see it.
When you're doing your conclusions, would you consider what I'm about to present and just come back with us as to what you think?
Yeah.
Am I presenting?
Yeah, let me stop sharing.
Just click on Sleeping Warrior's face.
Okay.
You see my screen?
Yes.
So if I just click Peak Finder, and then for me, St. Bees is already in, and I've got Isle of Man in front of me. Now, if I zoom in, now can you see the dotted line? The dotted line would be at the elevation
level.
Pardon?
What is the dotted line?
the dotted line would be if you were to level your theodolite to 0. This is where the 0 point would be.
Okay, and is the bottom part like this perceived horizon or whatever?
Yeah, it's a slant.
Who knows? But my point is,
Okay.
when you're looking with regard to the level point, you're looking with regard to the two mountains that you've mentioned. You've got Snaefell and North Barul. Is that right?
Yes.
So we can see that they appear to be identically level. It would appear.
Yes.
When I click on North Barul, it tells me, let's hide that. It tells me that it's 1,850 feet, and it's how many miles? 35 miles away. Snaefell is 200 feet higher, but it's
farther away. Yeah,
3 miles further back. So that gives you an issue that you've got to now think about angular size.
No, of course.
So I'm not sure what point you're trying to make, but I'm wondering, have you picked something that's too close to each other to make? Because I mean, they just both look level, really. Difficult.
So basically, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use the two peaks to establish the amount of curvature there should be.
Well, you're only talking about 3 miles further back, so it's not really far enough. I would possibly.
Well, I mean, I think we should be able to use this to put a bound, right? Like, there's definitely perspective at play here, and it should make a difference.
Is that the real Renty?
It is. Hello.
So if we put in the target distance of one was 35, the other one was 38. So we don't use the standard refraction 7.6R until you can prove there's a radius.
Yeah, exactly. That's fine.
Based on the geometric curve, there should be. So at 35 miles, which would be the first mountain, that should drop by 460. So what we're going to do is look for the aggregate between the two. So 446 feet would be the drop for the first one. But the second one at 38 would drop by 146, 700, 300. Yeah, so there should be a 300-foot drop between the two heights of the peaks. So I reckon that you actually
what's the difference between them? Is it 200 feet?
Sorry?
Is it 200 feet?
So it's a difference of 200 feet, and that's
hang on.
Close to
according to the drops, from what I've just established then, based on its distance, it should be dropping by 100 feet, right?
Hang on a sec. Yeah. So let's do it. So we've got 38 would give us 776. So the 776 minus the value at 35, roughly 646. So 646 should be a difference of 130 feet.
Right, and then we also have to take into account perspective. So the fact that the actual mountain is farther away. Right.
I'm not thinking about it. I'm not sure that you would see 130 feet difference between the two from 30 miles because it's pixels, right?
No, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I don't know. I think you would.
Yeah, I mean, it's
thinking about it. 130 feet is the height of the second cliff. So yeah, so we're looking for a difference of the second cliff between the two. Should we see that from 30 miles? Yeah,
so
maybe.
That's 130 feet. And then we already know Snaefell is roughly, 600 feet tall, right? Or wait, 600 feet. No, 600 meters.
So we're looking for a difference of 130 feet. And Snaefell is...
it's like 2013,
2000,
isn't it?
And then Barul is 1850.
So we're looking about like 10% of the size of North Barul.
No, it's more like
5%. 5%. What is it? 1800?
1850.
1850, and then 100 feet of that.
So there's basically 1850. There's 150 feet between the two. And Snaefell, no, it's 200. It's nearly 200 feet between the two. But we're looking for a dip of 130. You're not going to be able to tell the difference, I don't think.
It should be
if Snaefell was further back.
Is it 70 feet difference then? Is that what you're saying? The difference is 70 feet. So Snaefell should be 70 feet lower. Is that correct?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is from 30 miles away, it's only going to be a pixel difference.
Just let me just say, is that correct, Phil?
I mean, look at the images. You can see definitely like a difference, right? I mean, it depends on also how high you are too. Like your height above the surface. I mean, there's like all sorts of variables you can play with here.
Sure. But what I like it. You're
So
looking
like
for the
it's
tops of
actually
stuff. I
very
like
nice
that.
because you can actually use this to measure the curvature, or you can
Sure.
put a bound, at least put a bound on the curvature.
I agree. I agree. I mean, you're looking at the tops of stuff, and obviously it makes no difference where it's situated. 5 miles difference is still 5 miles difference, and there should be more of a drop. So yeah, why not? Hopefully you can extrapolate something from that.
Yeah, but I think by the time you zoom your camera out 30 miles, I think you're going to be looking at the difference between 2 pixels at most.
Well, I can do a calculate. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a calculation to see what would be the angular difference, the angular resolution you'd need, and then compare that to something like the P900 and see if that's doable.
Well, to be honest, I think it would be negligible in its normal meaning of the word, but if you apply Rumpus's meaning of the word, it could be anything you want.
Well, we still have to do the calculation, right? So we can
Sure.
basically see if the angles should work out.
It'll start with the angular difference will be 0 point, and then it'll have at least 2 zeros. It'll be minuscule.
Right, but I think the P900, if you fully zoom in, actually has a fairly good angular resolution.
Yeah, it does.
So, like that picture that I have of Alkes, like you can see a very clear difference between them, between the 2 peaks.
You have that to hand. Have you got a screenshot to hand, Philip?
What, the one of Alkes photos?
Yeah, because that's from a P900, and I agree with you. The angular resolution, what you end up with at the full zoom, is excellent. You know, you see a lot.
Yeah. So let me. Oh damn, my computer's not. I'm sorry. I swore. Where is the picture? Yes. So I made like a composite. So there's like 2 images because it's at full zoom. You can't get both peaks in. So, and of course, yeah. I mean, Anthony, in your video, you even have the
Sorry, I
2
just want
peaks.
to get this in. That causes a new problem. So if at full zoom you can't get both peaks in, that means that you've then got to model that composite on a curve. This is this.
No, I understand. So maybe don't do full zoom, but do like slightly less than full zoom.
Yeah, so at least one full frame has got both in, because otherwise, you know, that you can just say, well, there's your aspect ratio, there's your full frame, end of story. Whereas as soon as you're into compositing it, you've got to arc it, which is a pain in the ass.
Let me actually let me just show you what I did, just so you can get a sense of what
sure.
it
Let's
looks
have a look
like.
anyway. Sorry, I just wanted to get that in. Just yeah. I don't want the same arguments to happen twice, basically.
So I just took 2 photos and put them together. So I mean, it's like you know, you can see a very clear difference. Let's see if I can get my ruler tool.
I was going to say, I can't see a clear difference there, but what I'd like to do is see a straight line between them that's parallel to the horizon. So maybe put a straight line on the horizon first.
Hold on a second. Can I just get you to... The horizon's dipping down, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's still going to be parallel to the horizon, isn't it? So we can see whether or not it's... I mean, you need to do it big enough to span the 2 peaks.
What I'm saying is it would work against them being the same height. I mean, they're... I've got to be honest, they're within 2 or 3 pixels or whatever you want to call it. You know, it's very, very close.
Phil, don't be offended, but I could do this better if I did it on my screen.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just... Okay, yeah, go ahead. Do you want me to send you the image or...
Well, I've got the composite. Oh no, because I don't see the top of. Yeah, go on, send me that. If you drop it in the green chat at the side.
Oh no, I think I got it. Okay.
So it's a little tiny bit lower.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Let me change the color real quick. Yeah, I'm using this like very open source like graphics program because I'm poor and I don't have enough money for that fancy stuff. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Oh wait, no. Let's make it wider. Why won't you actually make the thing wider? Well, anyways, too wide. I don't know if you guys can actually see this or not. I apologize for
you got the same result as me. It's within, it's with a hair of being the same.
So you see, it's not a perfectly level line, right? Because the horizons. Oh, let me lower it down a little bit. There we go. It's not a level line because the horizon's not level, but you can clearly see that there's a significant difference between the two.
There is something on top of Snaefell though. If you go back to your left-hand side, I mean, like I say, this would need.
It's pretty hard to make out, but it's like I'm basically out. Like,
but do you see,
I could go lower.
These things, sorry, do you see these things on top though? Hold on. Do you see these things on top? I'm highlighting them for the audience. These are telecommunications masts. Can you see those?
Yes.
Well, do you know the height of those?
I do not know the height of those. I'm sure we could look it up. But...
I think this would be an interesting test. So we know the height of Snaefell. If we know the height of those, we can then combine the height of Snaefell to that tower.
I think they're about 400 feet.
400 feet?
I believe so, yeah. I mean, I might be wrong, but I'm sure I read that yesterday.
Let's see if we can get a citation for it.
Yeah, I'm sure I read it yesterday.
Citation, because that gives us a variable that we can then say, okay, well, now we've just added 400 feet potentially onto the top of the height of Snaefell, so we can reference it again and do the comparative maths with a slightly larger number and see if that helps. I mean, I don't know if it will. The difference should be obviously the same, but, you know, it might help. You just don't know. Useful.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the point would be if you could get different observations from different heights on St. B's head, or like that cliff area, like you would see the parallax of these two mountains change from the different heights, and from that you could deduce the curvature.
Sure,
or lack of curvature.
I already know from experience that when Chris Monk modelled it, he did it with all of them. So he went back, you know, it was glorious when he was showing me the model functioning in 3D, and he can draw a line to anything at any distance, and that line is always straight, and he can also then take the arc and back calculate the height of things. So in other words, he could draw a distance line between you and the mountain, and then with the arc calculation, with the trig, figure out how high each mountain should be, and then go and double check based on the references that we have. Of course, you could just Google it and check what the height of the mountain should be based on his calculation in the model, and every time he did it, he got it right. So, you know, yeah, you're doing this again on a non-curved composite in 2D. I've seen it modelled on a flat plane model, and it's completely in 3D, and, you know, it's been tested. Chris wouldn't have put that model out unless he was absolutely certain it was correct. You know, basically.
So you mean he measured the height from the horizon, or the angle from the horizon, like this line to here?
Yeah, so you can do the trig and figure out how high the mountain should be based on the distance. So you'll draw a line to the mountain and calculate the distance to it, and then with the arc that he can then put into the model, the line that he draws to the top of the mountain, he can get the actual arc and then calculate how high he's got that on the model, and then go back and double check whether or not it's correct. So in other words, you can make the model can make predictions. How high should this mountain be based on a straight line and simple trig? And then you go and check it.
So what did he use? Did he use the distance to the top of the mountain and the distance to the like distance of the distance to the like projected onto down to the surface of the earth, or did he use an angle? I'm just trying to figure out like what, because you need either an angle and a distance,
I
or
don't
you
know
need
whether or not
two
the line
distances.
he's drawing is along the length of the flat plane. In other words, going to the heart of the mountain, if you want to call it.
Yeah,
that.
exactly. That's
I
what
don't
mean.
know the answer
Yeah.
to that. I'd have to ask Chris. So
okay, because you either need two distances or you need an angle and a distance to calculate something.
Yeah,
like that.
well, from what I understood and how it was explained, it's with an angle and a distance. You can then say, right, based on my angle in my model, the height of this mountain is X. Let's see if X matches what they say that mountain is, and then you go back, Google it, check it, and it would be correct.
Okay.
The other thing to just bear in mind as well is that we're looking 30 miles and 31 miles and 33, I think it was. I think I'm right. Let me just double check it. Snaefell was a distance of. Hang on. Snaefell. Oh, why can I not see that now? It's because I'm zoomed in. Hang on. So Snaefell is a distance of 38 miles away, I think it says. Oh, I need to zoom
roughly, yeah. I think that's about right.
And then North Barul is 35. So that's a difference of 3 miles over 35, 38. So it's just under 10% of the distance. That is going to have an effect on the angular size in regards to the inverse square law. That's the only thing that you'd have to bear in mind the most.
The inverse. What do you mean the inverse square law?
Well, the further an object away, the further away from you an object goes, the smaller the object gets, right?
Yeah, I think that's. I don't know if it follows an inverse square. I think it's just the perspective change.
Yeah, but when I call it perspective, it's such a vague, broad term that it can mean anything. So what that I'm referencing the inverse square law to specifically address the point I'm making, that the further away that mountain gets, and it's not far off 10% further. It's like it's almost 10% of the distance that you're looking at North Barrule. So that is going to change. That's going to change how small the other one behind it is. And I don't know
exactly. I mean, you know the height, you know the distance. You can figure out the angle that the line of sight is to the mountain above like your level.
Sure.
That's.
Are you familiar with
the refraction angle change also applies?
I just want to ask Philip,
but this is really high above. Like I thought, refraction is not.
No, refraction applies to
Hold on, Owen.
everything
Sorry, I just
that
want to
you
ask
see.
Philip one question. Are you familiar with Blender? Have you ever used that software?
No, no.
Damn. I was just going to say, because I was going to give you Chris's contact details, because he said he'll make the Blender file available if someone was to request it. But if you don't,
yeah,
know Blender,
unfortunately, I don't know any 3D software.
No
I just deal with like simple diagrams and pictures. That's all.
Fair enough. I get it. This is a hobby for you, so I'm grateful. You're the most cordial baller we have on.
Thank you. So, Arwen, what do you mean refraction applies all the way up there?
No, it's just that, well, as I explained how refraction works, after a certain point, you get the slant effect, and everything from there on goes into, there's a slight angle difference, basically. That's what it comes down to, because
But it's the ray bending...
And that applies to everything you see, basically, including the mountains, despite them being, well, in compared to the observer height higher, it's still beyond that part where refraction starts and slants it all down slightly. So there's a slight angle change, but it's constant. It's not cumulative. And I don't know how much that would be. I guess it depends on...
But it's traveling through more atmosphere, right? Like, wouldn't it be more? Wouldn't if
maybe 2
light
degrees,
traveled more,
something like that? 2-degree angle change, something in that direction.
Well, then this kind of screws everything up, right? Because we're trying to measure kind of the relative positions and trying to establish whether or not something is dropping or not. And if we can't actually locate, if we can't rely on an image,
it still works out. It's just a slight nudge in a downward direction. But if it was an actual curvature, then it wouldn't be just that slight nudge. It would be a continual cumulative drop, a very much increasing drop the further you go. So
we've established that
would be much greater the further you go.
We've established that we can't tell where the horizon is, right?
No, you can figure it out, but what you actually get to see with just basic sight is the apparent horizon before the refraction zone starts.
So how do we figure out where the actual horizon is given an image?
You can deduce it with triangulation of the objects and the mirage effects and all that. Then you can deduce how far above the apparent horizon the actual horizon is.
Yeah, I'd actually disagree respectfully there with Arwen. I don't think that you can deduce it. You need to prove it. And if you're relying on deducements to prove something, that you might as well just be the Rumpus, because he does things like that. So I'm not arguing with Arwen, but I'm just disagreeing with him. I don't think you can prove.
Well, if you make it perfectly technical, then the horizon basically is on the exact eye height of the observer. That is the technical, literal horizon then.
Yeah, I agree.
So where the theodolite levels to?
They level at the apparent horizon.
No, they don't. They level at the actual horizon.
Oh, no, yeah, sorry. Yeah, my mistake. Yeah, indeed.
They level above the heart, this solid thing that is moving from image to image.
To put it in
it's just what you perceive.
So there's a nice sound bite. So there's a nice sound bite. The actual horizon does rise to eye level. The apparent horizon does not. It drops.
Yeah.
So what is the actual horizon? So the actual horizon is where the theodolite levels.
Yeah.
And I think by definition, that's always at eye level.
Well, yes and no, because there are some effects right on the ground. If you are in that zone that is depicted by that Chinese high school in that paper as that zone of invisibility, then there is that to account for if you're actually on the beach. So I'll qualify that by saying, although that statement holds true as you rise up in altitude, the actual horizon, and this is true in an altimeter, I think that's the correct pronunciation.
Altimeter, yeah.
Altimeter, that's right. You've got an actual horizon, and you've got the apparent horizon. They're both in there, and you level to the actual horizon, and you can see in your altimeter that the apparent horizon is below that. There's a little line that measures to it. Simple. And that doesn't change. Doesn't matter what height you are. That instrument proves this.
Yeah, and by the way, the vanishing zone, it is not literally that diagram, that one diagram, the red one, it only describes the path of the light. In actuality, what you see is that vanishing zone is basically folded into nothing. It is what vanishes. That light, as you see it, it goes down. That's why it appears to go down in the slant, because the vanishing zone is the part of the reality of what is physically there that cannot be visible due to light bending up.
Well, what do you see, right? Because like, it's not like you see nothing. You see stuff there. Do you see the atmosphere? Do you see the water?
You see is what you see is what is above there, and everything that is under there is just folded away. It's just it's concealed.
But there's stuff in the image typically, right? There's like copies of things. There's like all sorts of distortion effects. What is that?
That's correct, but that is in a specific band because light has this distortion effect. So there's a specific band right where the refraction zone starts, right above there, where things tend to get distorted and you get all these mirage effects. It's only very specific band.
And we call that the obstruction, formerly known as curvature. And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for tuning in, not for tuning in, for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.